Halloween. Oh, great. Come on. All right. Are we working now? No, we're not. All right. Let's just see. Oh, that was the Halloween theme anyway. Hopefully you guys heard it because I had that issue here. Let's just see if I can get it back on here now that I got this issue, I guess, taken care of. So, again, it appears we're going to have technical difficulties, but hopefully that won't be a problem all day. This is a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, a little later than usual, but there are a couple reasons for that. It is episode 374, generic Halloween episode, and this is Halloween. It is October 31st, 2020, which should have been when the onset of Halloween came about. When 2020's calendar came out and we saw what was going to be going on, it appeared that 2020's Halloween was going to be outstanding because there was a blue moon. It was on a Saturday, and you turn our clocks back an hour before we go to bed tonight. So we got an extra hour of Halloween, a blue moon, a full moon hadn't happened since the 1940s on Halloween, a blue moon on top of that, and it's on a Saturday. So it all had worked out, but because of COVID and stuff like that, we won't be able to hear John Carpenter's Halloween theme out and about like we just did on the show. So the reason why I started so late today was my daughter wanted to watch some scary movies, and I figured, why not? I also had to do my annual watching of Halloween, though that's from, actually. So my daughter saw The Sixth Sense for the first time. She did not know anything about the twist ending and was blown away by it, as everybody else who's seen it was. And then she watched Halloween with me also. She liked The Sixth Sense a lot more. Was not a big fan of Halloween, but she didn't hate it, but it wasn't like her favorite, like it's one of my favorite films, but at least, she watched it and she, liked it, and she probably watched it again, but that's okay. But she watched with me and I got to watch my annual tradition. So that's the reason why I'm starting so late. That's why it's 11:30, and I'm doing that because actually it's 11:42. That's the reason why I'm doing that this late. But I also, as I just said earlier, the clock's back an hour before you go to bed tonight. So technically, even though it shifts at 3 a.m., technically it's only 10:42 right now, because once the go to bed, after the show's over, I go to bed, I shift the clocks back. It's going to be that time, even though it officially doesn't happen until 3 a.m. this morning. Regardless, I got it in under the wire. I wanted to do this episode on Halloween, and I figure with this extra hour in place, even though this might not be over till about 1 a.m., it'll technically 12 a.m. So hopefully I'm going to try to finish this by 1 a.m. real time, and then 12 this extra hour in place, even though this might not be over till about 1 a.m. It'll technically 12 a.m. So hopefully I'm going to try to finish this by 1 a.m. real time, and then 12 a.m. regular time. You get it anyway. So we got a lot to cover this week. First and foremost, not feeling Halloween, and I'll explain why. It was a generic Halloween here in Reisterstown and other places as well. A major death hit today. We'll talk about that. Steelers week, which is a big week here in Baltimore for the Ravens. I'm going to try to not get too angry, but those idiots are still trying to steal the election from us. The election's on Tuesday. So hopefully, by this time next week, things will be better. They could be worse. So we'll find out what's going to happen. So we'll cover a little bit of that, but I'm not going to lose my mind as much. We've got some new Oreos to talk about. Actually just added a third one, but a third one was just added a few hours ago that I just saw. Some new TikTok stuff. Twinkies are in there. Why the Last Man makes an appearance. Organic matter found in a meteorite, and a strange item found in Titan's atmosphere. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Red velvets all over the place. Play-Doh for grown-ups. Some stupid people. Something really crazy and mysterious about the Titanic is going on right now. Blobs and discs of light were discovered in Jupiter, or as they're calling them, sprites and elves. we'll cover that as well. We got some trailers, some new pops, some other good new food stuff, some Christmas stuff, some Halloween stuff. Tim Burton's got some news. Oscar Isaac made some news this week. Netflix all over the place. Something bad happened to a New York City guy, which is kind of rough. We get a little bit about Kazakhstan and Borat 2. Kentucky Fried Chicken makes the list again, and some more stuff like that. So we've got a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of ground to cover. So let me see if I can get this done by 1 o'clock our time before we turn our clocks back to 12 o'clock. I think I want to start this spooky Halloween. I'm going to go a little off topic here. Not off topic, but I'm going to go skip ahead. Then we'll start, since it's still technically Halloween right now at 11:46 p.m. I'm going to cover this scary, spooky story first. A couple of spooky stories here. First and foremost, every 6 years since 1918 or 1917, I should say, since 1912. I'm sorry. Every 6 years since 1912, a ship out to sea on April 14th, when the Titanic went down, has received a SOS from the Titanic. Now, the first time it happened, you could just maybe assume it was like a crossed wire or something like that, and then it doesn't happen again. But then 6 years later, another ship announces it, and then so on and so forth. Eventually, it might not have, of this SOS is popping up, is kind of freaking people out. So they started going back and researching it, and it's every 6 years an SOS is sent by the Titanic and picked up by people, out in the shipping lanes at that time. So it's some sort of time loop. Is almost like a ghost radio signal that keeps getting sent over and over again. And it's just because of the enormity of the situation or what, I couldn't tell you. But the fact is, it's just kind of a creepy sort of story right there. So I figured I'd start this Halloween off with a kind of interesting story like that. Another one is NASA said they spotted a 200-mile-long groups of sprites and elves in the atmosphere of Jupiter when the the Juno, or whatever, the probe that was out there exploring Jupiter for so long, when they sent it into the atmosphere to explode, they wanted to get pictures and readings before it exploded. And while it was entering its death throes, it took a bunch of pictures of these strange blobs and discs of light that happen to be in Jupiter's atmosphere, and they're calling them elves and sprites. So I thought that's just kind of a weird kind of bit of story to add, and that's so that they actually literally called them sprites and elves, even though there is a scientific reason for them to be there. But it's just kind of odd that they use the term sprites and elves, I guess, to get more people interested in finding out what it was about and stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting. A weird molecule was also found in Titan's atmosphere, which is the biggest moon of Saturn and the only other place in our solar system that we know of right now that has liquid water on their surface. It's not water, liquid on their surface, because it's not water. It's a different type of liquid chemical, but they do have lakes and rivers and streams and seas and oceans of this on Titan. They discovered the molecule cyclopropanolidine, which is something that has never been spotted in any other atmospheres in our solar system. So it's a strange carbon-based molecule, which might preclude that there might be signs of something going on the surface of Titan, and it sort of needs to get people to get down there and explore that. Now, also, I didn't put this on my list, but there have been talk that are showing life in it as well, I guess, some aspect of it as well. So that's kind of interesting. So we're having these technical issues again, which is really pissing me off now. So hopefully I'll be able to get through this episode. Big death that happened today is Sean Connery passed away today, at the age of 90. He was the original James Bond, and a lot of people's eyes, the best James Bond. But he's also been in a ton of other movies, Hunt for Red October, The Rock, Time Bandits, Medicine Man, Darby O'Gill and the Little People. He's just been one of those. He played King Arthur in that romance with Richard Gere and Julia Ormond. So he's a fairly the Highlander movies. He's a fairly well-known actor. Obviously, everybody knows Sean Connery. If you say his name, people are going to know who he is in a second. Well, he passed away at the age of 90. He hasn't made a movie for almost 20 years or so, but at least it's still Sean Connery, and he will be missed. Let's see what else we're going to cover here. Not feeling Halloween this year. Yesterday would have been my work party where we have a Halloween contest and a potluck that people bring in food, stuff like that. They decided not to do it this year because of COVID. Discussions of people shutting down trick-or-treating Halloween in certain areas. Our area, as far as we knew, they allowed trick-or-treating, but expected to attempt to go out and get trick-or-treat, outside, go to strange people's houses who you don't know about, who might have COVID on their candy, I guess, and didn't want to. So I bought 2 bags of candy, not knowing how many we had. Normally we go through 4 to 6. We usually have about 300 plus that come through here. If we got 100, it would be today. It would be amazing, but I don't think we even got 100. We had a couple of spurts here and there where we got some people usually up and running with Halloween during regular times. This year, not so much. And then there weren't a lot of people out either. As a matter of fact, a parent I did talk to, a friend of ours who comes to our neighborhood to trick or treat, said that there weren't a lot of people out trick or treating, but they filled their buckets. There were a bunch of houses that were giving out candy, but it was just one of the deadest Halloweens I've ever seen. And the blue moon would have been magnificent to see also, but we are in a major cloud sequence. We had a bunch of rain a couple days ago, and we're going to get some more rain tomorrow. The clouds are going to roll through. It was cold. It was chilly today. I got the inflatables outside. I got some lights outside. I got a string of lights on the inside. I was going to take care of our mantle that I usually do, but I didn't even do the mantle this year. Just wasn't feeling it, and just because 2020 has been a shit year so far for me, and I'm sure for everybody else also, but for also me personally, it's been a shit year too. So we did that, but I still, so I bought a werewolf mask and werewolf claws, and I did that at our house I wore that to work on Friday, knowing we weren't going to have a contest or a potluck, and I didn't really go on. And there were a couple other young ladies who were dressed up as well. That was about it. Not anybody else really dressed up, which is fine because nobody was expecting it to happen anyway. So we had that, and then today just not really feeling it, and I dressed in my Riddler costume and handed out candy. We didn't really hand out candy. Dawn didn't want to hand out candy to kids, so instead, how many, people were going to be there? So, buying only 2 bags of candy, I didn't know if it was going to last us. So I limited it, but then I started loosening that up a little bit once I realized we weren't going to get a lot of people. Not a lot going on, not a lot of people. Usually it goes from they were the last kids to come, and the people didn't really start rolling through till about 6, and then the spurt, that the highest level probably was between 7 and 8, where we had the biggest groups of kids. And as I said, we had probably 50 plus come down, so we had some kids, and my son Noah decided he wanted to go out, so first costume he wore a couple years ago, and just went out and did a real quick sweep of the neighborhood to get some. My daughter didn't want to go out. She's turning 14, so she didn't want to really go out. And so we did that. Lost an inflatable. I had my first inflatable I ever got was a spooky tree, a cute spooky tree that has a owl and ghosts and pumpkins and stuff on it. And it was old. And last year, my wife got me a Jack Skellington one, and I didn't put out the spooky tree one for some reason. I just put out Jack Skellington last year. But this year I said, hey, why don't I just put them both out, you know? So I put them both out, and they were working fine for the whole month because I put them out early in October. I had them up almost every day of the month. So on Halloween, I decided, just like I do with Christmas, I turn our lights on at Christmas time, Christmas Eve, and I leave them on. It's the only time I leave our lights on overnight, so Santa Claus knows that, you know, we're ready for Christmas and he can come deliver presents, stuff like that. So that's the only time I leave the Christmas lights on overnight. Usually, before I go to bed, I turn off all of our outdoor Christmas lights. Same thing with the Halloween stuff. I turn them on when I get home from work, and then turn them off so I get ready to go to bed. However, because it was Halloween, I plugged them in, and I've had them running since, I don't know, like 9 a.m. this morning. So they've been running now for almost 14, 15 hours. And I guess it might have been a little too much for my old tree one, because when Dawn went to put out the candy about 6 o'clock for the trick-or-treaters, she said the tree was dead. So I went out and the fan was not working, which is what inflates the inflatable. And I unplugged it and plugged it back in. Didn't work. I tried shaking it to see if maybe it was just stuck or something, tried to clear stuff out. It wasn't stuck. It just gave up. Stuck or something, tried to clear stuff out. It wasn't stuck. It just gave up its ghost. It was done. So I have dumped it into a trash bag, and it will be picked up on the trash day on Monday. Actually Tuesday. It would be picked up on election day, actually. That's when our trash pickup usually is. So kind of sad, but I still have the Jack Skellington one up, so I still have that one up. I also have our little light thing that shows pictures and stuff like that. We do that for Christmas and for Halloween. My wife did get me, there it is right there, for my birthday or for last Christmas or something like that, got me a turkey inflatable. So maybe not tomorrow, since tomorrow's Steelers Day, and I'll get to that in a second. But sometime in the next week or so, I will probably take down the Halloween decorations, and I'll put my turkey out there. And I don't think I have any Halloween or Thanksgiving display light things, so I'll have to double check and make sure I have Christmas. I've got like 4 or 5 slides of Christmas. I have one Halloween. I have one Easter, I think. I have 2 Halloweens. I think I have one Easter, and I think there's a St. Patrick's Day in there, or there might be something else in there. And maybe it's Thanksgiving. I don't know. I'll have to take a look. So I'll take a look at that. But I will put my in there, or there might be something else in there. And maybe it's Thanksgiving. I don't know. I'll take a look. So I'll take a look at that. But I will put my inflatable turkey up. That's brand new, so that'll be nice. And then for Christmas, I got a brand new Santa Claus inflatable for my birthday, for last Christmas or whatever. So we'll put that out. And I think I have a couple other smaller inflatables we'll put out as well. I got those a couple of years ago. So we've got inflatables coming out. The wazoo says coming up. But so it just wasn't Halloween this year. Halloween has a lot of separate meaning for me. 26 years ago was a big Halloween, but I've already discussed that on my show before, and I don't want to discuss it again. But that was a big deal, and Halloween's always been that holiday for me. But because of COVID and all that stuff, it's been and because this year's just been totally shitty, it's just been a rough one. So I'm not feeling Halloween, but we got through it, and Happy Halloween is over. It is now officially 12 midnight. So by official counts, actually right now, just literally is literally November 1st right now. But as I said, we do turn the clocks back. So technically it's still only 11 o'clock at night on Halloween night, but it's officially November 1st. So Christmas Carol time. I'm just kidding. I don't do Christmas stuff until after Thanksgiving. The good news though is in November, I got the okay to take off Thanksgiving week. We're going to have Thursday and Friday off. So I got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I have some vacation time. So I took that off. So I have a week off coming up in about 3 weeks. So that'll be very, very nice. So we'll see what happens. So that's that. November 1st, tomorrow, whatever you want to call it, is Steelers week here in Baltimore. The Baltimore Ravens football team and the Pittsburgh Steelers has one of the greatest football rivalries of all time, despite what Jerry Rice and other people might think. If you ask the majority of football players out today and older football players who are in the Hall of Fame, stuff like that, to name their best rivals, the Ravens Steelers is always going to be up there because they are one of the rivalries where the rivalries are extraordinarily close, where the record, I think, if you discount the first 3 years of the Ravens' existence, because they were basically just getting themselves, ready and prepped, and they weren't a good team. But once they got good in 2000, they haven't looked back since. They've had some bad years, but from 2000 until now, if you look over the last 20 years in the regular season, the Steelers-Ravens rivalry is almost dead even, with the record being like 23-23, something like that. And then the playoffs, that's the other thing also, is that the Ravens and Steelers have had multiple playoff encounters as well, which adds to the rivalry. So there were a few years there, particularly early on in Joe Flacco's career, that the Ravens and Steelers actually played each other 3 times a year, which is unheard of. But it's amazing when you have a rival like that and can do that. And the rivalries always continue to be that way. And the last few years, it hasn't felt like a regular Steelers-Ravens rivalry because Ben Roethlisberger has been injured the last 2 times that we've played him. And plus, Joe Flacco hasn't really been on our team so much. That last year, Lamar played in played in the first Steelers game, but didn't play in the second one because the second one was like the last game of the season, and he needed to rest for the playoffs. So we played RG3 instead. So and then the Steelers that he played in his first game last year, Roethlisberger was not the quarterback; it was the Duck Dodgers or whatever his name is, Duck Hodges or something like that. So this will be the first time that the Ravens are 5-1. So it should be a typical Ravens-Steelers game. And their second one is Thanksgiving night, actually. Thanksgiving is now what I'm looking straight forward to because I love Thanksgiving. It's going to be a little weird because there's Macy's Day Parade live. They're going to do some sort of virtual thing, and I don't know what we're going to do for Thanksgiving. We're going to go to a family member's house, whatever. But football, the 4:00 game is the Redskins Cowboys, and the Washington football team and Cowboys. And my wife and my wife's family, they are Washington fans, and that's another is that one. So they're playing on Thanksgiving at 4:00. Then the Ravens Steelers play in Pittsburgh at the 8:00 game on Thanksgiving night. So, and if I hadn't taken these 3 days off, I would have had, it's like the only 4-day weekend that I actually get every year. And it is great to look forward to that. So that's good. So Steelers week is this week. So that's what's going on with that. And in other local news, an iconic hotel downtown Baltimore, the Holiday Inn, which is over there near the Baltimore Arena, or the Civic Center, it used to be known as, is closed, which is due to COVID, obviously, but it is unexpected that this thing has happened. So it's a shame that is what happened, but nothing we can do about that. Play that they did. So multiple people have called the police because there's blood smears and body parts everywhere, and it looks like a real crime scene. So the police have been called multiple times, and when they have to say by different people, they said, "Hey, no, this is just Halloween decorations. It's a little outrageous." So that's kind of interesting. There's skull bean bags. Obviously, Halloween season is pretty much over by now. But if you find a skull bean bag, you can have Halloween all year round if you want. You can sit there and read or watch Halloween movies on your Halloween bean bag there. It's just kind of cool. Any other Halloween stuff? Yes. The Halloween Kills teaser part 2 came out this week as well. Halloween Kills was the second of the new Halloween series with Jamie Lee Curtis returning in the role of Laurie Strode. And it was supposed to be out this year, but due again to COVID, it's not going to be out. It didn't come out this year. They actually moved it to next Halloween at this time. And then the sequel was being the third one, Halloween Forever or something like that, is I think it was being filmed at the same time, and now that's going to be released in 2022 in October. So you've got those coming up. But the first teaser came out a while ago. It was nothing more than just Jamie Lee Curtis and her daughters and a few people looking back and seeing the firemen come to put out the fire that ended this new Halloween series that had Michael Myers trapped in a panic room and been set on fire. And they're screaming at the firemen not to put out the fire. But when they get to the house, the on fire Mike Myers comes out and kills them and then escapes. So obviously we know what's going to happen. That this Halloween Kills teaser showed a little bit more of Michael walking and finding his burnt out mask and Laurie's panic look and some other sequences at the hospital. Like the second Halloween, actual sequel to the original Halloween by John Carpenter, takes place in a hospital also. So I guess they're kind of going back to the well on that one again. So we'll see what happens. And but the second teaser for that came out this week as well. Let me just make sure that there's not anything else Halloween related on this page. There isn't. Arby's and Buffalo Wild Wings owner is buying Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins. So Dunkin' Donuts is going to have a new owner. The people who own Arby's and Buffalo Wild Wings are now going to own Dunkin'. And since Dunkin' also has a partnership with Baskin Robbins, and I guess they work together, they also get Baskin Robbins as well. Now we've got an Animaniacs remake coming out. Well, guess what else we're getting a remake of? We're getting a reboot of the Tiny Toons are going to be coming out, but it will be without the character of Elmira, which was the bratty girl who just loved the Tiny Toons and would just be all over them. So we're not going to have her there. A bakery created life-size Mandalorian bread statues of the main characters, including Baby Yoda, but made completely out of bread for the premiere of Mandalorian Season 2, which was on Friday the 30th. I haven't seen the new episode yet. Maybe tomorrow after the Steelers game, or maybe sometime before by next Friday. So we'll see what happens about that. But that's kind of interesting that they actually made a actual life-size bread statue of it. The elephant population of Kenya has doubled over 30 years, was announced this week as well. That's always a good sign when stuff like that happens. And baby gorilla was born via C-section this week as well, which is also wonderful. Mother's doing fine also. Talked about the strange chemical found in Titan's atmosphere and the sprites and elves found in Jupiter's atmosphere. Well, an organic matter was found in a fireball meteorite that crashed in Michigan. So they've discovered some kind of life form on this meteorite that crashed from space in Michigan. So that's going to be good, right? New trailer called Willy's Wonderland, featuring Nicolas Cage, who apparently at this point is going to make any movie, where he's fighting evil animatronic creatures. It's exactly what you expect it to be. So that's another crazy movie as well. Sonic, the restaurant Sonic, will be releasing espresso milkshakes, and one will be filled with Oreos pieces to give you that little extra boost right there. Mark December 2nd, 2020 on your calendar. That is when the McRib comes back. Now, I used to like the McRib when it first came out, but then this new iteration that's been happening over the last 10 years or so, I'm not a big fan of, because they add pickles and onions to it, which they didn't before. It was just the rib sandwich. So I haven't had one since because I don't like pickles or onions. Arctic methane deposits are starting to release. Good sign for our atmosphere. An Earth-sized rogue planet has been discovered in the Milky Way. Doesn't mean that it's our ninth planet or whatever, but it's a planet that is not attached to any solar system or around any star. It is just sort of wandering the Milky Way, and it's causing all kinds of disruptions to stuff. But it is out there, and scientists have seen it and discovered it. So we've got something like that coming. Man shoots himself in the face after a bullet ricochets off the armadillo he was trying to shoot and kill, and that's what they call it, Karmadilla, or Karmadilla or something like that. So karma, armadillo, whatever. So I said Halloween season's pretty much over now. Thanksgiving and Christmas is coming up. So what's a better time now to talk about Groundhog Day? February 2nd, the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray has finally got its first pop release, which is the Bill Murray character along with a groundhog. So if you're a pop fan or a Groundhog Day fan, probably when the pops get announced, it's usually a couple months before they are released. So this one might actually be released by the new year in time for Groundhog Day 2021. How about this? Play-Doh for grown-ups, and 6 different types that smell. Actually, they have weird, bizarre names, but these are the smells. I forget what the names are, but the smells you get is you get clean denim smell, you get smoked meat smell, you get a coffee smell, you get a rubber smell, you get a floral smell, and you get a fresh cut greens smell on your Play-Doh. That's exactly what I want. Is I want to smell my Play-Doh, but adult Play-Doh is a thing. For the longest time, Y the Last Man, one of the best comic books out there, has been trying to get made for television, and there have been all kinds of stops and goes. But the FX has finally gotten to the point where they've been trying to get a show off the ground for years now. They finally have started filming the first episode with a brand new cast. So the cast that was originally announced for it have all been left and have all left and moved on to other things. And so we have new cast to look forward to. So we'll see about that. Twinkies are in the news. If you like Twinkies, there is a party-sized Twinkie Baking Kit, which will give you instructions on how to create your own Twinkies, and it comes with its own baking sheet, so that's pretty cool. And just in time for the holidays, because hey, I guess mint is synonymous with Christmas, because mint gives you that sort of cool feeling, and Christmas is candy canes and mint and cool stuff like that. Mint chocolate Twinkies will be coming out for this holiday season, coming up for Christmas. Another big thing, red velvet seems to be the flavor of the year, because Walmart is selling frozen red velvet cookie dough. So the type that you just pick up and then you just scoop out and you can put your cookies down and bake. You don't have to make it. It's already made for you. But if you like your red velvet cookies for the holidays or just for your own snacking, now you can go to Walmart and get frozen batter and make it yourself. Also, Bailey's, our hard liqueurs, has a red velvet liqueur out. TikTok has some new stuff to do. First up, mothers throw their baby to get a reaction for TikToks. That's just cruel. Your baby's sitting there and then you just throw water on them to see if they're going to cry or laugh or slap you or whatever. It's kind of stupid, but it's a new thing now. So that's pretty awful, but not as awful as tying helium balloons to your baby and watching as the baby floats up in the air. That is also a new thing as well, and that is absolutely unconscionable. But TikTok people are the ones that are known to eat Tide Pods as well and lick toilet seats. So, yeah. Oreos are at it again. They have blueberry pie Oreos are coming back out. I think they came out before, but they're now coming out again. A banana split Oreo was just announced this week as well. Actually, tonight I saw the announcement today for that. And a while back they did an Oreo flavor that was a mystery flavor, and you had to eat it and then make guesses about what it was. And if you were close enough, you would to what it was, you would make $1,000 or $5,000, something like that. Well, the original one that they did tasted a lot like Fruity Pebbles. That was our first decision, and we should have sent it in because we were right. It was a Fruity Pebbles flavored cream Oreos, wasn't a special unknown thing. Well, now it got a good following, so now they're going to finally be releasing it, but instead of calling it Fruity Pebbles because that's a trademark. So now they're going to finally be releasing it, but instead of calling it Fruity Pebbles because that's a trademark, they're calling it Fruity Crisp Oreos. But it is the Fruity Pebbles flavor that they did for this unknown flavor a couple of years ago. It was actually pretty good. So having them be an actual cookie now is good. And I've always been a fan of blueberry, so it should be interesting to see what blueberry is. I'm not sure about banana split Oreos, so we'll see about that. Stupid stuff that the Republicans did. Hopefully I'm not going to ever talk about the election. Well, I'll probably talk about next week because the election will be over by next week. But a wax figure of that idiot in the White House was thrown out into a dumpster at Madame Tussauds Berlin Museum. So that's something. And that evil witch Laura Ingraham says that Santa and his reindeer won't visit you if Biden wins. Again, that's up there with last week. I was talking about how they were saying that if Biden wins, that seniors in Florida will not get air conditioning, which I know what they were going for, but you're complete morons. And now they're just trying to scare people. It's like, if you vote for Biden, Santa Claus won't come. Why is that again? And anyway, aren't you still in charge? The new president doesn't take over until January. So what's up with that? I'm going to try to, there we go, just open that up a little bit. So whatever. Las Vegas man leans out of a van to shove a cyclist and gets them both killed. So apparently there was, he was trying to do, I mean, I've seen some videos before, people trying to knock over bicyclists or motorcyclists while they're driving on the hot for whatever reason, just to be dicks, I guess. This guy tried to do it and ended up killing both the guy he was trying to knock over and himself. So it's not a good story, but it's just kind of a, what are you, a fucking moron? For those who say, you know, college football back, Maryland, University of Maryland, the big college up here, has had 2 games so far. They got blown out in their first game last weekend. And then this past Friday they played and they won a nail biter and won. But colleges have reopened and doing all this stuff. Wisconsin University now has 22 cases of COVID on their football team, I believe. And Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who is expected, if he decides to go to the NFL, expected to be the first overall pick of next year's draft, to the Jets or the Giants or Washington football team or whoever's worst team coming up, Jaguars, whatever, has COVID as well. So maybe opening schools and playing games, stuff like might not have been smart in this age of COVID. As a matter of fact, I didn't put this on here, but England is having their secondary spike, and the Prime Minister has declared a 4-week stay-at-home order. So they're actually doing it right. So we'll see what happens. Bacon soda and ranch dressing soda or cola are actual things that I didn't expect I would ever see. But hey, I did. I had to see that. Last week's episode of Dylan Knows, I talked about Christmas tree hair. Women getting their hairs triangle so it looks like a Christmas tree and have it decorate, stuff like that. Well, men, you know, they can do a little something here. I'm not really growing anything. This is more superstition, but men who have a beard can now put fairy lights in their beard for the holidays. So go for it, man, if you want to do that as well. Paul Rudd was handing out cookies to early voters who were standing around in the rain this week. So that's good. His fellow Avenger, Scarlett Johansson, has gotten married to Colm Jost. So they are now husband and wife. David Gordon Green, the guy who directed the new Halloween movie and the Halloween Kills when it's coming out next year, has written a children's book based on the Michael Myers Halloween story. So I've seen that they have a Die Hard one for kids. They've got a Home Alone one for kids, and they change up the story. Obviously, for this, you're going to have to, but they change it up, but keep the basic beats and stuff like that in there. But they change it up so that it's an all ages sort of thing. So yeah, whatever. Wonder Chicken, a chicken skull they discovered, has been tested and discovered to be 67 million years old. So chickens have been around for 67 million years. So I think forever dinosaurs are probably asking the same question: what came first, the chicken or the egg? Um, Netflix has been getting real busy. They've got a couple of things in here I'm going to cover. First, Christmas time. Their big Christmas time. Their big Christmas tentpole movie besides Monk is going to be, or Mank. I'm sorry, Mank is going to be Midnight Sky, which is George Clooney directs and stars in this film about a guy in the North Pole who is at a listening station or something like that with either his daughter or a young girl who survived the apocalypse, whatever. And it's in a world where climate change has on enough the land. And so George Clooney's character has been in touch with them, but has had it, lost touch with them in a while. So he needs to find a stronger transmitter. And there's one way down the mountain from him, but it's a few hundred miles away, 50 miles away, whatever. So he has to make his way with this girl to try to get a mess. So that was an interesting trailer. It's going to be on Netflix, so it might be one just, New Year's Eve or, just, a weekend where I got nothing going on. I'm staying up late or whatever, just pop it on and see what happens. Adam Sandler's still the king of Netflix. He has signed on to do a new film called Spaceman of Bohemia, which I guess is based on a book. They say it's an adaptation. So I guess that's okay. Netflix also has an animated series called My Dad, the Bodyguard, which is going to be released very soon. Let me see if there's anything else Netflix on this page. There isn't. I don't know where this is going to be, but Tim Burton has signed on to create, produce, possibly direct and write an Addams Family reboot TV show. Now, this past weekend, I was watching Halloween movies, and it was a shame that Christina Ricci only did the one movie with Tim Burton in Sleepy Hollow because she was absolutely perfect, a perfect actress for him to work with. And then she was also in the original Addams Family movies from the 90s that Barry Sonnenfeld directed as young Wednesday Addams. And then she did a photo shoot a couple years ago of herself dressed up as Morticia. So Tim Burton, Addams Family thing. And a lot of people were suggesting Johnny Depp for Gomez Addams. And that makes kind of a lot of sense. He has a good rapport with Tim Burton. Sleepy Hollow, and it makes a lot of sense. I think Gomez is older than Morticia anyway, so